Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good? So today is March 29th and we are a couple days away from the annual Troll Fest on April Fools, and for today's video I wanted to kind of cover the historical April Fools events over the course of the 5 years in Dokkan Battle. So this will be a good occasion for some of the longer veteran players to reflect back on the events that were available at the time, as well as new players learn about some of the ridiculous stuff that has occurred over the course of the years. So let's go ahead and get started. This is based on the information from what was it? 数字でわかる Dokkan Battle. So this is a pretty 数字で見る Dokkan Battle. This is actually a very useful website that I've been kind of keeping tabs on for a long time in terms of like looking up information and stuff like that. It's only in Japanese, but the guy's really good in terms of having detailed compiled information, so definitely appreciate the information here. So we'll start off with the expectations as to what we should expect this year. I have literally no idea. They change things up left and right every year, so my guess is I have no guess, so we'll leave it at that. So let's talk about the very beginning. So 2015 is obviously when the game launched, and of course only 2 months after the game launching, they didn't have anything for April Fools that year. So unfortunately, as it states here, basically didn't have any April Fools related events the first year, or year one, on 2015. However, a year later, on 2016, we have the infamous Yamcha units from April Fools. I think a lot of us were shocked when this first came out because they had the ability to Dokkan Awaken into a TUR status, and once you Dokkan Awaken them, pretty much you got trolled on. After grinding and getting the medals or whatever, you obviously see the artwork before and after on the screen you're seeing right now. But you have the iconic Yamcha on the bottom right, where the Saibamen pretty much took care of business, and the bottom left is the unconscious version of Yamcha. The funny thing about these units is the agility Yamcha, essentially the attack I think was like depletes to 0, and defense will deplete to 0 for the tech version, or vice versa. I can't remember exactly the stats, but essentially, in summarization, it made the units pretty useless. I mean, that's like pretty much the state of the card itself. So the UR state of the card was much better than the TUR state, and that was actually pretty funny in my opinion. Those two units are very, very worthwhile in terms of the collection, you know what I mean? So it's certainly one of those things that makes it worthwhile. And the thing about it is a usable unit, and they did have it come back. I don't know if it was last year. The event actually came back to where the new players could actually acquire the units again, but that's pretty much what occurred in 2016. Let's go ahead and skip through here and see what else is up. So 2017 is when they said pretty much they were ending Dokkan Battle and switching into a new game mechanic and system. Essentially what happened in the announcement was it was like the Saibai Battle, which is pretty much the equivalent of Pokemon, to where you grow your Saibamen and give certain soil and get them to evolve and what have you. It's pretty interesting stuff. Basically, the summarization here that you're seeing right now is the official end of Dokkan Battle starting April 1st, and the beginning commencement of Dragon Ball Z Saibai Battle. So a lot of ridiculous stuff. They even had like artwork to show us what to expect. So it's you have your Professor Nappa as the mentor and guidance provider, and how to raise your Saibamen and train them, evolve them, give them certain types of soil to get through the evolution process, and depending on what kind of soil you give them, they'll evolve into different types. It was pretty funny stuff. And honestly, when I first read it, I would have been like, I think I would actually play this game as like a side quest, side event, so it would have been pretty cool if that actually happened, but obviously not. If we go to 2018, this is when things got a little bit funny too. Is they had a dating simulator. What was it? What was it called? Dokkan Battle. So I think in the English version it was like Dolly Battle is what it pretty much was called. And this was one of those dating simulation type deals. And I think I made a comment when I first covered the video back in 2008. But if this actually launched, I think people would actually play it. The funny thing is, because like it's a pretty popular market, I think, in terms of gaming. You know, there's definitely a genre for that. So Dragon Ball is obviously very popular. So you know, it's funny because as much as of a joke it is, I think people, some of the people would definitely be interested in potentially playing that. So, you know, you see the image of, you know, hollering at chicks and you know, trying to mac on them or whatever, you know, and you know, things are pretty ridiculous with that. You know, I don't know if you want to necessarily holler at the Pan character, but you know, Bulma too at that. I mean, a lot of these, you know, we're not gonna go into details, but you know, some of the decision making could be questionable to say the least. But but they did give out a copy of a unit, which is this right here, the Dragon Ball Heroine card unit. The unfortunate thing about this is it really is a collector's item. You know, it says super strength type UR state, you know, cost of 99, but you can't actually run this unit on any sort of team or whatever. It's, you know, it's got the 2000 HP, attack of 4 and defense of 1. So obviously April 1st, 2018 is the commemorative card, but it is a little bit unfortunate because unlike the Yamcha cards, this unit you can't really run on anything. So that was the one gripe I have about it, but outside of that, it was pretty comical and a lot of entertaining stuff that, you know, happened with that. 2019 was actually a pretty good one for April Fools, not just because of the nice touch with the retro mode, but 2 units actually did come out with their own events with their own specific potential orbs, and they were decent units. They weren't great by any means, but of course with April Fool's units, you don't expect them to be phenomenal or anything. But the 2 units were pretty good, and you know, you could actually run them on some decent teams. So in that regard, this was pretty good in terms of, you know, the types of stuff that came out with it. Of course, with the retro mode, you had, you know, like the, you know, special codes you could enter, and you know, the new like nostalgic Dokkan Battle mode where everything is in retro 8-bit and whatever. I think it was based on the Butoden series and whatnot, and it was like the Game Boy Color equivalent of Dokkan Battle. And the cool thing again is the 2 units here. You see the super physical Goku unit and the extreme agility Vegeta. So the name you can see is the like Goku Dokkan Butoden and then Vegeta Dokkan Butoden. So their names were very, very unique and specific to where you could include them on, you know, Goku's family or Pure Saiyans or Vegeta's family or whatever the case is, and they wouldn't necessarily overlap with the other Goku or Vegeta units. So their skill sets were actually pretty decent too. I think it was like 88% based on like certain, you know, toward attack. So like Goku, for example, was attack increase of 88% and then defense increase of 88% when performing a super attack. Their stats aren't necessarily bad as free to play. You know, like close to 10,000 HP. Attack was like 12,000. Defense is like close to 8,000, and you know, supreme damage and raises attack for 4 turns. So like that Goku actually isn't too bad. Vegeta's pretty much similar. Instead of the attack raising for super attack, it's raises defense for 4 turns. The passive skill pretty much inverted, where defense increases by 88% at the start of turn. Attack will increase by 88% when performing a super attack. So I mean, the stats are the same as well, but surprisingly, these units were pretty good. I mean, I remember testing them last year on Goku's family and Vegeta's family, and they were actually pretty decent. The best thing about this was they had their own specific potential orbs, so you didn't have to invest your own, you know, type orbs into getting them to 100% rainbow status. So that was a very nice touch. So I think for this year, I would definitely like something like this to happen, where you know, you do get an option to get a playable unit at the very least. Honestly, it'd be great if they brought back the Yamcha mode, so like some of the veteran players could, farm the SA or get copies for the dupe hats, that's one of the things about the Yamcha one that I think some of the players, that have played for a very long time regret is this was, before, keep in mind, this was before the potential systems were a thing, so of course, like the only thing that you would use the extra copies of were pretty much toward leveling up the SA. At the time that didn't exist, where we had to keep like 4 extra copies just in case to unlock the potential orb. So with that being said, a lot of it was, it was future looking. So like chances are a lot of players ended up spending it toward, extra dupe pass or whatever. So that's pretty much the case. I don't know for this year, like what kind of theme. It's always, it kind of goes. I don't know, it's like all over the place in terms of like the themes and stuff, so we'll have to see what exactly happens, but I think, in 2 days time, I don't know if data download might release them sooner or not, but it'll be very exciting to see what happens, and I'll definitely be covering it. I actually have a special theme coming out for that, so definitely stay tuned for that. I think you guys will certainly enjoy it because it's quite different from some of the videos you normally watch, so definitely stay tuned for that video when it comes out on April 1st. But hopefully you guys enjoyed reflecting back a little bit on some of the stuff that occurred in the past, and yeah, it's a nice trip down memory lane, and we'll see what happens for the April Fool's 2020 edition. So as always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys later. All right, see ya.